Christian women have better sex. It's true. It's science. Well, social science. Either way, it's far better science than the duffelpuds who wore masks in their cars alone so that they didn't give themselves COVID. Christian women have better sex. It's true. It's science. Well, social science. Either way, it's far better science than the duffelpuds who wore masks in their cars alone so that they didn't give themselves COVID. Christian women with Protestant husbands are happier than any other demographic in our country. They are happy with the love and affection that they get from their husbands, and women who have active church-going husbands feel more appreciated in the home. And what continues to surprise most, although it shouldn't, because the studies have been around for almost 50 years now, is that Christian women are reported to be the most sexually satisfied group of any women in our country. The first survey done of this nature was by Redbook in 1977. Of course, the feminazis and liberal intelligentsia were blown away by this finding. There was no way this could be true. Apparently, their misogynistic and patriarchal husbands forced them to say such things as they took this anonymous survey. So surveys of this nature have been repeatedly done ever since, with the same results. The National Health and Life Survey, which I believe is considered the most extensive survey of this nature, found that women with intact marriages who worship regularly with their husbands weekly reported that they felt wanted and needed during intercourse, an astonishing 94.9% of the time. Surprisingly, or perhaps not surprisingly, you won't hear any of this taught in any of the sex education garbage taught in public schools, or in any media for that matter. Just as an aside, why on God's green earth did anyone ever think it would be a good idea to have sex education taught in public school with a curriculum designed by the government? I suppose probably the same people that thought government indoctrination mills would be a good idea, and for the same reason. Assuming that public education is necessary and that these retards should be teaching our kids about sex, why are they not teaching this? If every survey consistently has shown this for the past 50 years. Here is what the extent of what sex education curriculum should be. Fear God and marry someone who fears God and have lots of sex. Boom. Okay, perhaps that was a bit of a rabbit trail. So let me just summarize the moral of the story here. Public education is stupid. Now that that is out of the way, back to Christian women being more sexually satisfied than anyone else. Take that, feminists. The question we should ask ourselves is why that may be, given that science has proven it. Here are just a few of my brief reflections as to why this is certainly and indubitably the case. The first and most important is that marriage is covenantal by nature, and those who fear God honor that covenant. It's popular today for people who just want to have sex with each other and some degree of companionship to say things like, "We're married in our hearts," or "Marriage is just a piece of paper." Here are just a few of my brief reflections as to why this is certainly and indubitably the case. The first and most important is that marriage is covenantal by nature, and those who fear God honor that covenant. It's popular today for people who just want to have sex with each other and have some form of companionship to say things like, "We're married in our hearts," or "Marriage is just a piece of paper." The godly troublemaker exists to shine the light of Christ in the eyes of the idols of our day. We are able to do this because we are entirely listener-supported, which makes us cancel-proof and beholden to none. Your gifts of any amount support godly troublemaking and enable us to cut straight in a crooked world. Thanks for your support. As far as marriage just being a piece of paper, this is stupid. The deed to your home is just a piece of paper. And the degrees you have are just pieces of paper too, right? Everyone knows it's what is represented by the piece of paper that counts. The piece of paper is a public, formal, legal acknowledgement that such and such is actually the case. Without that, just on a superficial level, you are admitting to having none of that, which is the equivalent of saying we're married in our hearts, which is to say that we are emotionally attached and like having sex with each other without any real commitment to one another, other than strong feelings, with some type of outward profession, which is about as binding as Michael Scott declaring bankruptcy. Marriage is a covenant before God. In marriage, you are covenanting before God that you give yourself to this person for life. You are becoming one flesh, and from this union, a household will be built that will produce, by God's grace, godly offspring. It's the covenant that provides the safety and stability and protection of the marriage. You are safe and free together forever because of that. Outside of that, all of your sexual liaisons are performance-based, and you are always wondering in the back of your mind whether or not you measure up, or whether that was good enough. In marriage, the answer is always yes and amen. Outside of marriage, the best you'll ever get is, I hope so, and I hope this person that I'm married to in my heart doesn't find someone better. Isn't that the real reason people don't get married? They're just hedging their bets? No wonder people are so anxiety-ridden today. What a horrible treadmill to be on. Who in their right mind wants to be in a constant state of performance analysis? Another factor is the oneness that marriage provides. Every man wants to feel like he is the only man in the garden. Every woman wants to feel like she is the only woman in the garden. The covenant of marriage again says yes and amen to this. There are no others. By definition, there can't be. Marriage says, I am my beloved's and my beloved is mine. Exclusivity and permanence are the makings of sexual flourishing. Another factor is humility. Christians should actively be seeking to grow in humility daily, which means that Christian men should not be self-righteous, arrogant pricks. Inside, we should be counting others as more significant than ourselves, beginning with our wives and their needs and desires. If you're a self-righteous, selfish prick, that is going to translate into the bedroom. If you're humble and willing to listen to your wife and aim to please, well, that will translate into the bedroom as well. And not lastly, but lastly for us here, is the fact that marriage is taken seriously by those who fear God. One area where this is seen is in acknowledging the permanence of marriage. It is for life. This means that all of your eggs are in one basket, which is to say, you both have a reason not just to make it work, but to flourish together, because you are going to sink or swim together. What this amounts to, or should amount to, is a deeper and better knowledge of the other person over a long period of time. Intimacy and deep knowledge of the other person is not something you can get by screwing around, or by being married to someone in your heart, or by simply playing house. No wonder Christian women are more sexually satisfied. Cheers.